Okay, so I'm here in Madison, Wisconsin. We're playing tonight. Um, I had a dream last night, and I actually got out of bed, and it really wasn't a dream. I was with Daryl Stuermer. Hi, babe.
Hello, Leland.
Hi, babe. How are you?
I'm fine.
This is great.
You're a fellow Wisconsinite, you know.
I know. I remember being in the Royal Garden Hotel and us meeting in the elevator and discovering that we were both from Milwaukee.
I know. Is that 1984 or 5?
84.
84, yeah.
Yeah, but serious.
No Jacket Required
Yeah.
album.
Yeah.
We didn't know that was going to be the title at that point.
Yeah, but so I'm just curious for me, and also for just like the people that are on my network. Just love to know your history, because we've really never sat and talked about it before.
That's true.
And I know you've got a profound history in the medical field. I think that was that was somebody else.
Yeah, in the medical field. Well, I was born and raised in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
You were actually born in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
But we didn't know each other.
No.
You left there probably when you were about 4 or 5 years old.
It disappointed my parents when I left, but
yeah.
I just said, I'm out of here.
Yeah. And but I was born and raised there. I started when I was very young, like 3rd grade, started playing trumpet.
Okay.
Joined the beginners band, played trumpet. And then when I was about 11, I picked up the guitar because my brother was a guitar player. And he was older than me, so you always kind of follow in your brother's footsteps. But I continued to play trumpet through grade school band and high school band. But the guitar was kind of more the thing. It seemed more hip.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed more fun. And I continued to play that all the way through. And my brother and I started playing in bands together. He went to Vietnam. He went into the Army, got drafted, but came back, and we started playing in bands together again. But he became the bass player. And we kind of continued on with that for a while. We played nightclubs. We had one gig where we had a band called Sweet Bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And that band became very popular in Milwaukee. It was like the band to go see. A national group would come into town, like, Chuck Mangioni's band would come in and sit in with us.
Oh, cool.
Cannonball Adderley, 2 of the members of the band came in. In fact, the keyboard player, his name was Mike Wolf, came and sat in with us with McCurdy, the drummer of the band. Came in, and they came in, and one night Frank Zappa's band members came in.
Oh, cool.
That kind of changed my life, because what happened is George Duke was in the band, the keyboard player. Chester Thompson was the drummer. Tom Fowler was the bass player, and they all kind of came in and sat in. Why that changed my life is because at one point I ended up going out to California with the sax player and the drummer. We were going to bring our tape out there, thinking we were going to, bring our tape out there and get a record deal.
Yeah, like all of us
Oh, yeah.
felt, yeah.
When I listened to the tape now, we probably wouldn't have got a record deal. But we thought we were the band, we were going to be we were going to get a record deal. We're kind of a jazz fusion group. But what happened was our singer was already out there, a singer named Sylvia St. James, and she knew George Duke, and she said, "Oh, my band is out here," and he said, "Oh, is that guitar player out there, Daryl?" And she said, "Yeah." He says, "Well, Jean-Luc Ponty is looking for a guitar player, and I'd like to recommend him." So that's what happened, and
Wow.
He recommended me, so I got a call to come in and audition for Jean-Luc Ponty. And I was already a fan of Jean-Luc Ponty.
Yeah.
Fantastic, great jazz violinist, and he was just starting. He just got on Atlantic Records, and that's how that all began. That kind of began.
Wow,
my career.
that's great.
Yeah, and that was kind of the beginning of me getting out of Milwaukee and going on tour. I was with him for 1975, 1976, and 1977. Did 3 albums with him.
Well, certainly George Duke brings creds when somebody's going to be recommended.
Right.
If George would have said it, it's worth listening to.
Well, it's funny. I had an album that I always played. It was an album. It was called the George Duke Trio, Live at the Experience in L.A. It's a club in L.A. Live at the Experience featuring Jean-Luc Ponty. And my brother had brought it back from Vietnam. I don't even know if it sold in the America. Maybe it did, but I would listen to that album all the time. So this was kind of like a really amazing thing to come together. Anyway, so that was kind of the beginning for me of touring, and I toured with Jean-Luc for about 3 years, and it was an amazing experience. Played with a lot of great musicians that came and went in the band, and that was it.
And then Gino.
Oh, right. And then, well, actually what happened was then Jean-Luc wasn't touring at a certain point, and all of a sudden, I think it was the manager of Jean-Luc Ponty got a phone call about Genesis was looking for a guitarist because Steve Hackett was not going to be playing with them anymore, and they needed a guitarist to go on tour with them. And so my name was brought forward, and I can't remember why my name was brought forward. I think Mike Rutherford heard my guitar playing on an album called Enigmatic Ocean. That was the second album I did with them. And that's how that happened. So, so I went and auditioned with Mike Rutherford actually in New York. And they flew me to New York, and this was in December of 1977. And I remember walking in, for some reason I thought the band was going to be there. Now, the manager, Tony Smith, might have said they weren't, but I don't remember that.
Yeah.
And I remember walking in, and there was big, tall Mike Rutherford there. And all it was a monitor system and a tape recorder. And they had sent me a cassette with 5 songs on it. There was 2 brand new songs that had working titles on it. One was called Calypso. That was a working title. But what it really was Follow You, Follow Me.
Oh, wow.
And another song the title was 5/8, because it was in 5/8. But it was actually called Down and Out. That was the real title.
Yeah.
And then there was there was actual real titles, Squonk and Los Endos, and there was something else. I just can't remember what it is.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they had sent me a cassette of those songs, so I learned all of the songs. And I went in, and so I came prepared to do this. And Mike Rutherford and I sat down in these chairs, and he played through the monitor system these songs, and I played along. Now he had a pedal board sitting in front of me. I think there were a lot of the effects that Steve Hackett used, and I had never used those kind of effects before. Because I think all I used at that time was probably a wah-wah, and it was about it. Anyway, so I sat and played the songs, and we would go through about a minute or 2 of each song, and then he would stop the cassette, and then he'd say, "Well, I think that's enough. Let's go on to the next one." And I'm sitting there thinking, maybe he doesn't like what I'm playing, and he's just moving on. And he'd play the next song, and I play along, and he'd do the same thing. He says, and then after we did about 4 of those songs, he says, "Well, I think you're the one." I'll never forget that he said, "I think you're the one." And I thought, "You do?" And he says, "What I'll do is I'll ring you at the hotel." I was staying at the Plaza Hotel. He says, "I'll ring you in your room at 5 o'clock. But because I was the first out of the Americans, there was 5 guitar players that he was auditioning apparently. And I'll ring you at 5 o'clock, and I'll run through the songs that I'll need you to learn for our rehearsals, which were coming up in February." And this was December, I believe. And I thought, okay. And I ended up coming to his room at about 6 o'clock, and I just asked him, I said, I recognized there was a couple names on there that I recognized, fairly well-known names. And I said, what was it about me that, why would I these other couple names on there are pretty good guitar players.
Yeah.
He says, "You're the only one that came prepared." He said, "Nobody knew the songs." I said, "Are you kidding?" He said, "Yeah." One guy said, "What key is that song in?" And I said, "Are you kidding me?" And
See, we went through the same thing with James Taylor when we were looking for some guys to be a new keyboard player in the group, and some great guys showed up.
Yeah.
Only John Gilliton showed up totally prepared. Like only in A Dream in Rio had these bird sounds he had already programmed. Though,
Right.
I mean, it was so obvious that this was the right guy because he came in like he cared.
Yeah.
He wanted the gig, and this is a profession.
Yes.
You don't come in here casual and go, well, this is jam.
Right.
You know, especially somebody like Genesis. Those songs are not jam songs. This is comprehensive, hard songs that you really have either know or don't. You're not going to pick it up on the fly.
No, I mean, and they're not easy. And yeah, you don't wing it.
Yeah.
You know, and so I came prepared, and then he said, another person said, "What style is this?"
Oh, Jesus.
And I thought, well, it's, you know, Genesis is its own style anyway.
Yeah.
It's kind of a progressive rock kind of thing, but it's you know, there's only one style to it. You can't even say what it is.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I did the audition and I got it, and I remember when Mike was running through all these songs. We were there for hours, and it was 26 songs to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, oh my God, I got a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
So I did the same thing, and I learned all the 26 songs. And I know that we weren't going to do 26 songs at the show, but what they were going to do is take parts of these songs, and a lot of times a lot of the songs are going to be medleys.
Yeah.
You might take 3 of the songs and put it into one. Anyway, that's how that all began. So the rest is history. I ended up thinking, I don't know how long I'm going to be with this band. This was in 1978 now. And
Yeah.
ended up kind of touring with them on and off, and then with Phil's solo career for almost 45 years.
Because I remember seeing you at Perkins Palace.
I remember you there too.
Yeah, that was really great. And I remember he had asked me to do that tour with you guys, and I was already committed to James at that point. But I said, please, I'd love to work with you, down the pike, if it's possible. And that's when he called for an '84 to go to London.
Right.
And that was when we met in the elevator.
Yeah, and it's been love ever since.
No, I'm just verklempt sitting here together.
Do you know when I was going to do my first solo album, which was called Steppin' Out, I remember when I played some demos to Lee Ritenour, the great studio guitar player.
Yeah.
And he's a good friend of mine. And I was playing it, and what he said to me, this was way before I knew you, really. This was like early 80s. And he said, the right bass player for you is Leland Sklar.
Really?
I said, really? Wow, okay. And he said, drummer Russ Kunkel. He said he would be great for you too.
Wow.
He said this before I even knew you.
Wow.
And Ritenour had the right idea.
That's great. So when we did that album, which was great up in, what was it like? Up in
Lake Geneva, Wisconsin.
Lake Geneva.
Yeah.
And Mark was playing drums. Mark Torrell.
Yeah. And Brad Cole ended up playing keyboards.
Yeah. I love that album.
Yeah.
I mean, I've always loved working on your projects and stuff, but that was really fun. And then Don Murray.
Don Murray did all the engineering. He's just the greatest engineer.
Yeah, those things, I've featured that on this channel before, a bunch of the songs from the albums. And it's really cool.
That was 1986, I think. When we did it.
We did it right after the No Jacket tour.
Right. And I had written those songs way earlier than that. But I think I played the demos to Lee Ritenour, like early 80s, 81 or 82. It was funny. He said you would be the perfect.
It's great. I mean, it was always weird when we would do sessions. Like I would do a project, and it would be me and Lee, and then maybe Lee Holdridge would be engineering it. We did one project where there were 4 Lees on the date. And it's like every time somebody would go, "Oh, Lee," all of our necks would snap over there. I love the George Duke thing at the Experience.
Yeah.
Because that was my favorite club in Hollywood. I saw Hendrix there, Chicago when they were still CTA, The Who. I mean, that was like the club in Hollywood down on Sunset, just west of La Brea.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Marshall Brevitz ran the club, who was, I think, eventually killed by the mob. I mean, it was a real kind of weird, ugly scene that went down. But I would go in there and I'd bring my old bass with me, and I had a cord wrapped around it in a strap, and I couldn't afford a case, so I would just carry it around and see if I could jam with anybody. And but I know, like, I saw Jimi Hendrix there a couple of times, and I was sitting probably 10 feet away from him watching. He'd come in and there would be a band on stage playing, and like the guitar player had like a right-hand guitar, like a Silvertone or something, and Jimmy would get up, flip the thing upside down, so it's strung upside down,
Right.
and do his whole thing. And then and it was unbelievable. And then he'd hand it back to the guy in that band, and it was sucked. And it was like, you go, it's the guy, it's not the equipment. And man, that was a real, one of the hotbeds of music in LA was the experience.
I'm so glad I got to see Jimi Hendrix before he died. I mean,
Yeah.
I saw him about probably 3 months before he
Oh, wow.
died. Yeah, he played in the Milwaukee Auditorium, and I thought, wow, this guy is unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah. Just,
and it was is that Mitch Mitchell on drums?
yeah.
But
Billy Cox
It wasn't
on bass.
On bass, yeah.
Yeah, it was after Noel.
Right.
Yeah, and Billy was a whole other animal for
Yeah.
that. I think he was more of really the guy to be in that
Real
situation.
solid.
Yeah.
Because Mitch Mitchell was like real free form.
Yeah, he's really a jazz drummer.
Yeah,
So-
absolutely.
But it's weird at that time. I remember I was going to Cal State Northridge in '68, and I had just seen Hendrix up at Devonshire Downs, and I was standing there watching him play, and I looked next to me, and David Crosby was standing next to me, and that was when I met David Crosby. And then I heard that there was going to be a concert in the gym at the school, and I go in, and it's Cream. And they're opening with Tales of Brave Ulysses, and I'm just going, there's something going on here. I really need to get into this. This is deep.
Wow.
But I just, I mean, we do this all the time. Whenever we see each other, there's so much reminiscing about
I know.
all the tours. I mean, for those that, really, Daryl was my go-to hang on the road.
Yeah,
I mean, we've spent so much time together, and just when I think back to all the places in the world we've been privileged to go to, and feel it just, I mean, when that No Jacket tour started, I mean, he was still just a drummer from Genesis, and how his world turned upside down during the course of like Susudio coming out, and all of a sudden you couldn't go anywhere, and it was like Phil world.
Right. I remember when we did that tour, we were playing venues. We could have probably played those venues for 2 nights.
Yeah,
And because no one expected that album to be so huge.
yeah, it was amazing.
And then we went to the Grammys.
Yeah,
I remember, and also he had like 5 or 7 Grammys then.
yeah.
That's when the Grammys were kind of real.
Yeah, I mean, but I think on that show, it was at the Universal Amphitheater before the lid was on it, before they put a roof on it. But I think like Public Enemy or somebody was like in the dressing room next to us.
Wow.
But I think the thing that blew my mind with that one was 2 things. It was it was the fact that we were pretty much, there was almost no live music still at that point. It was almost everything was canned, and we were going to go. And I think that was the one where Whitney came out, Whitney Houston.
Yeah.
And I remember this young girl coming out and doing her sound check, and we all like freaked out.
Yeah.
We heard her, all the people working in the place were all giving her a standing ovation just for her sound check.
Yeah.
But there was something so vital and thrilling about that whole period, because for all of us it was really new seeing it on that level. I mean, you got a taste of it with Genesis, and I had a taste of it with James Taylor as his career took off. But the Phil thing really had a dynamic to it that was really something. And that first band with Peter on keyboards and the Phoenix horns and you and me, it was a tight little unit on stage.
Right.
And
I remember when Phil got I think the first award was Best Male Vocalist.
yeah.
He thanked like everybody, and then he kept winning. He ran out of people to thank. He said, I just thanked everybody at the first award. He didn't think he'd win any more awards.
Who would have thought all those things that happened were going to happen? And I think one of my funniest memories was on the '90 tour when we did The View.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, dude, I forget, we did a song from either Tarzan or Brother Bear on that, I think.
Yeah.
But it was like in the middle of the tour, and you do those shows at like 7 in the morning.
Moving in my heart, I think.
Yeah, maybe it was. But when he came up to us, it was you, me, and Brad, and he said, "Can you guys lower the key?" Because he was really tired. And when we did it, it was like 5 minutes before showtime, we scrambled and got it together. And afterwards, he said, "If this had been Genesis, we would have been in rehearsals for a month."
You know, I don't think it was 90. I think it was more like 2000 or something.
Was it? Well, maybe it was the 2004 tour.
Yeah,
It
something like.
might have been. Yeah, it might have been.
Because I remember Tarzan was.
Because that would have been later. Yeah. Okay. It may have been one of
All these.
They all melt.
Yeah.
Just still, when I sit there and I watch, my two favorite things are watching the no ticket required
Oh, right.
videos on YouTube from the No Jacket Required tour from Reunion Arena in Dallas. It's such a great show.
Really.
And then the one from Berlin.
Oh, right.
You know, from 2000 or from 1990, the But Serious
That
Lot.
was a great. That's one of my favorite shows.
Yeah, I just watched it and I go, this was unbelievable.
That's where the carousel opens up.
Yeah.
Oh, that was really good.
Yeah.
I love we could go out there and kind of tune up and just.
Sit in there and get filled. When we were in Japan and we
Yeah.
did wonder if they'd opened the doors yet, and we peeked through it and the place was packed and they were all just sitting there waiting for the show to start.
They were so polite.
Yeah,
No noise. We didn't think anybody was there.
yeah,
You look out, they're all just sitting there.
yeah,
And then as soon as it opened up, they'd start clapping.
yeah. That was just amazing. I miss that so much, and all the adventures that we've had all over the world, especially that last tour of just going to, when we went to like Estonia and Latvia and Russia and the Middle East and all that stuff.
Yeah, remember that one show we did? Was it Vilnius or something where Phil lost his voice?
Yeah,
Oh my God.
yeah,
And he still did the show. And then there was people down in the front, and they had a sign saying, "We've been waiting for 30
Yeah.
years." And Phil was, when we were doing the bow at the end, he looked at me and he said, "That's why I did the show."
yeah.
He said, "I had to do it."
Well, when we did that, and when we did Beirut,
Oh yeah.
and the president of Beirut and his arch enemy were with
Sitting
their
next
wives
to-
sitting right in the front row, holding
Yeah.
hands and having a kind of a kumbaya.
Right.
And then Jacqueline, the publicist,
Yeah.
showed us the newspaper on the plane that had them on the front page together.
I remember that.
That, and then also that gig we did in, I think it was in the south of France, in one of those Roman amphitheaters, and the power went down when we were
right.
doing In the Air, and it
Yes.
shut off. And you and I stayed on stage so the audience wouldn't think that we were leaving them.
And we sat on the amplifiers.
Yeah, yeah, just sat there talking and stuff with this packed arena.
Right. I think that's on YouTube.
It might be.
I think you can see that.
It's amazing how much stuff's on YouTube.
I know.
It really blows your mind sometimes. Some of the things you see on YouTube and you go, where was the camera?
I know.
You know, who took that? I mean, it's really weird, but
I mean, remember in the old days, you couldn't even bring a camera into a show.
yeah,
Now everybody's got it.
yeah. Nobody's watching the show anymore. They're just holding up their camera so they can watch it when they're going to the bathroom at home.
You know, I kind of think some people are missing things
Yeah,
because they're not in the moment anymore.
I know. You see these shows and you go, just put it away. Just dig it.
Yeah.
Just dig it.
I mean, I could see like taking a little moment and
Yeah,
take it and then put it away.
yeah, but don't film the entire show.
No,
Yeah, it's weird, but
because you should be there.
yeah,
You know, I mean,
yeah. Well, I love you, Daryl, man. I'm so
Love you too.
happy that you could come to the show tonight and
Me
stuff. You know, because last time we played, we were here. We were doing Summerfest
right.
here, and you know as well as anybody what a mess that is if you're not playing.
Right.
And so we got together at the hotel, but tonight you get to come to the show and really see how much I've started sucking since the last time we played together.
Yeah, well, I expect that. You know, because you're getting older.
Well, you just take pity on the old man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I expected you to slow down.
Okay. Hey, I think I may have to go to the bathroom now. I think.
Yeah, when I was driving up here, they said it's a beautiful city too.
Yeah.
This is a beautiful neighborhood that this hotel is in.
Well, I always kind of look at Madison as sort of on the same level as Austin or Berkeley,
Mm-hmm.
those kind of progressive college towns. I really love the vibe and energy of those.
It's
And a hard thing for me, coming always back to when we play Wisconsin, is just the kind of how crazy the political scene can be in this state, where you kind of go, God, don't go that direction. You know, I mean, there's been some governors and stuff that you just go, really, this is not healthy. And you go, but I'm from Wisconsin, and I'm never going to not say I'm from here.
Right.
You know, so it's cool. Well, let's get the ointment on, and let's go to the gig. But man, I love you, man. Thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah.
Okie dokie, buddy.
Nice to see you.
Okay, bye.